up and welcome to another Confident Club Cuppa.
Hello everybody, nice to see you, Steve.
Hello, Curly.
We started a new series of Cuppa, and what we've been doing is chatting about this, which is Steve's new book. So congratulations, Steve.
Thank you.
So I've got another interesting, well, I think it's an interesting question to ask you about it. So there's now 47 and a half steps, right? Why does every chapter start with the word don't? Why is there a quote to avoid? And at the end of every chapter, why is there in a big box an action not to take? That sounds crazy to me.
I know. It drives a lot of people mad. In fact, vast majority of people, because obviously what's great about the third edition now, and the book's been around, kicking around in various forms for nearly 20 years, is you get a lot of feedback, right? And the vast majority of people go, I really like it because it's fun and it's done in a totally different way. But some people, it annoys the hell out of them, right? And the reason it annoys the hell out of them is it's all based on the whole notion that you can't process the negative in your neurology, Curly.
What does that mean in English?
Come again, yeah. It means like when you say to a small child, don't drop the milk.
All right, yeah.
So you can't think about not dropping the milk without thinking about dropping it, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, how can I introduce some of these ideas that can be seen a bit preachy, I think. I mean, what I would also say is there's not one idea in that book that's not universal and other people haven't talked about, right? And if you wonder where most of the ideas come from, it obviously come from my personal experience. I've not put anything in the book that I haven't used and done and that's worked for me. I think that's important, right? And work for others. But a lot of it is during my time as a professional speaker. It's great, Kelly, because you get to hang out with some like amazing people.
Yeah.
So like backstage or in what's called the green room, right, where you're having like coffee before the show. So you get to meet these people. So it means you can sidle up to these amazing people, like, I don't know, Sir Steve Redgrave. Have you heard of him?
Right, yeah. He's a great guy.
Five gold medals, right? You can sidle up to him. Or I distinctly remember sidling up to Simon Woodruff, who you might not have heard of, but he's the guy who founded Your Sushi. And if you go way back in time, the first ever series of Dragon's Den, if you're familiar with that, he was one of the dragons on that.
Oh yeah, I remember. Doesn't he wear green shoes?
I think he might wear big yellow banana shoes. I'm not sure. He's a great speaker. That's just two off the top of my head people that I actually sidled up to and said, can I ask you your advice? And can I put it in my book, right? And sometimes Steve Redgrave or Simon Woodruff will tell you something in 10 minutes. It took them like 10 years to figure out. So if you're wondering what's in book, a lot of it's advice from other people that just works, right? But I wanted to present it in a way that that wasn't sort of rah-rah and a bit too, preachy. Some of these books seem a bit like a religion, and it's like do it my way or the highway and all that, right? So that's the first thing. So if you go in the obviously if a chapter says don't have any goals, which one of the chapters does, one of the steps does, then you can't think about not having any goals without thinking about perhaps having some. Quote to avoid, well, again, that's tongue-in-cheek, because for me personally, if I step outside being the author, I love a great quote. You do, Curly, don't you?
I do. I love a quote.
We talk about them on the workshop, don't we? Great way to get people in the room, so a quote that inspires me or just makes me laugh, right? So I don't know if you've got I should have asked you to pick a favourite quote from book, right? So
I've got one.
Go on then. So what's one of your favourite quotes?
Hang on.
So everybody listening to this, avoid this quotes, avoid it.
This is quote to avoid.
Yeah.
Don't practice continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Here is Edward Bear coming downstairs now. Bump, bump, bump on the back of his head behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels there really is another way. And if he could only stop bumping for a moment and think about it. That's brilliant. Winnie the Pooh, A.A. Milne.
Well, Winnie the Pooh, genius, right? So the other thing that's different for this edition was Pearson went, when we did the second edition, we didn't bother with that, like, is it legal and decent and stuff. We didn't have to go to our legal department. So this new transcript is going to have to go through our legals, and you might have to make some changes, So one of the quotes, we actually couldn't find the source for it, so we had to change it and stuff, right?
Oh, really?
We had to get permission. I had to put a reference to who wrote Winnie the Pooh?
A.A. Milne.
That's it. So that's it. So I love that quote. And action not to take, obviously, there's so much talk and not enough action, isn't there? So being from Yorkshire, it's like, well, here's a principle, but what the hell do I do with it? So there's actions not to take, which obviously what I'm really saying, Curly, is you might want to think about doing this, right?
It's tongue in cheek, isn't it? Yeah.
So that's the big idea behind it, really. That's the big idea behind it, to make it, and some people, I would say, one of my favorite podcasts at the minute is Sleep With Me. I don't know if you're familiar.
I've heard that.
If you're having, and a lot of us are during chicken of doom time, having challenges sleeping. Sleep With Me, brilliant podcast. But the first time you listen to it, it sounds really annoying and it's a bit weird. And the guy says, most of my listeners say you might need to listen to this podcast 2 or 3 times to get why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? So I think some people, it'd be fair to say, first struggle a little bit with the reverse psychology, because they go, hang on a minute, is he telling me to do that, not do that? Don't matter, because what's happening is your unconscious mind's getting engaged with it as well, So I think it makes it easier for you to remember and use the ideas as well, is what I would say, as well as it being a
brilliant.
bit
So we're going to finish with some advice from me.
Right.
Don't buy this book.
Very good.
See you next time.
I'll see you there.
I'll see you then. Bye.